Hi, my name's Tom. Welcome back to Low Carbon Lifestyle. Me and my wife Esther over here are going on holiday. We're not going to get a plane, we're going to go on the train. And this is our story. My name is Tom, and this is a little series about a low carbon lifestyle. So, Esther and I set off on our flight-free adventure, travelling from Durham in the northeast of England to Val d'Isere in the southeast of France. By train and bus, 750 miles away. We're heading there for a week to do some hiking in the Vanoise National Park. We started off with the East Coast Main Line, and we arrived into the fairly familiar London King's Cross, somewhere that we've both spent a little while travelling to for work over the last few years. After King's Cross, we had the short walk over to St Pancras, a short wait, and we were then over to the Eurostar. Okay, Eurostar, St Pancras to Gare du Nord. A couple of hours later, we pulled into Gare du Nord. We then got the Paris Metro to Gare de Lyon. And we boarded the TGV to take us down to Chambéry on the edge of the Alps, where we'd spend the night. The next morning, we got the local train from Chambéry to the foot of the hills at Bourg-Saint-Maurice. And then finally, a short bus ride up the hill to Val d'Isere, where we'd start our walk. It took about 11 hours to get from Durham to Chambéry, and then another 3 to get up to Val d'Isere. But we had made it, mainly by train and with a short bus ride to finish. If we were going to get to Val d'Isere in the summer by plane, the equivalent journey would have meant us driving to Newcastle Airport, spending a bunch of money on parking for 10 days at the airport. We'd check our baggage in, we'd then fly from Newcastle to Heathrow, where we'd have to change to fly to Geneva or fly to Lyon to get to Val d'Isere. We'd then get another 4-hour train from Geneva Airport or Lyon Airport to get us up the hill, or get to Bourg-Saint-Maurice, and then we'd get a bus up the hill to Val d'Isere anyway. I'm not convinced that this would have been that much quicker, and there is always the risk of losing a bag with all our camping kit, which would have been pretty essential for our trip in the black hole that is Heathrow Airport. In his book, How Bad Are Bananas?, Mike Berners-Lee gives a little bit of an indication of the emissions that we should associate with different types of travel. So he lists a few different types of train travel. He lists standard class intercity train travel as having emissions of 80 grams of CO2 per mile. He actually mentions French train travel as well, which is relevant here, as only 22 grams of CO2, as it's powered by very low carbon French nuclear energy. So for our trip, if we assumed that Durham to London was at 80 grams per mile, the Eurostar was somewhere between, and the TGV was around 22 grams, we'd have emissions around 40 kilograms each way of the trip. Let's be a bit conservative, let's say 50 kilograms each way. And now for flying. A quick Google gives us some estimates. So carbonfootprint.com suggests a flight from Newcastle to Heathrow and then Heathrow to Geneva would be responsible for 430 kilograms of CO2. Okay. Plus the car journey to the airport and the train from Geneva were at nearly 450 kilograms each way on the plane. So the train might save around 400 kilograms of CO2, nearly half a ton. I know not everyone cares about CO2, and lots of people will ask, well, what about costs? Well, this is a bit tricky because it depends how good a planner you are. If you book in advance, you get a cheaper train. If you book in advance, you probably get a cheaper plane. It cost us about £150 each to get out to Val d'Isere on the train. The flight to Geneva varies from around £50 if you plan way in advance to around £150, £120 if you maybe gave it a 6-week lead-in. 150, 120 plus the train from Geneva to Bourg-Saint-Maurice. And then maybe we're in a similar ballpark. So emissions around 400 kilograms less. Worst case, the train maybe 50, 75 pounds more expensive. But best case, it might even break even. But we'd made it. We'd made it to the Alps. And the next day we started our hike. 5 days walking in the Vanoise National Park, camping at mountain refuges at about 2,500 metres above sea level, occasionally climbing above 3,000 metres, and generally getting away from it all. 5 days of amazing views, hard work, marmots, ibex, sunshine, and a surprising amount of snow. We'd actually done a similar trip last year by train as well. We were walking the southwest of the national park from a place called Medan. This year, we were ticking off the northeast side with a walk from Val d'Isère. Just like last year, it was amazing to walk around every corner to see views of glaciers above us and valleys below, and 3,000 metre plus mountains everywhere you looked. On the 4th day, we walked up from Bonneval-sur-Arc to the pass over the Col d'Iseran, which for a cycling mega fan is a fairly famous climb, and the site of the 2019 Tour de France and the day that the Team Ineos rider Egan Bernal went into the yellow jersey. Only a cycling mega fan would film a bit of the road and spend 20 minutes finding that section on YouTube. After that point, we walked up through snow to our high point. We had one final night camping at a refuge before heading back to Val d'Isère. It was extraordinary. And then we started our journey home. The bus back down to Bourg-Saint-Maurice with amazing views over the Alps as well, before the train back through the Alps to Chambéry. Back in Chambéry, I said bye to Esther, who had to head home for work, and I headed over to Lyon to meet my friend Ant for a couple of days at the Tour.
Well, look who it is.
The Tour is an amazing carnival that travels around France for 3 weeks. We were staying in Châtillon-sur-Chalaronne and watching on the roadside at stages 12 and 13. It was a lot of fun seeing the caravan come through at the sprint point in a little town called Regny. Seeing some really famous riders riding straight past us meters away. I loved it. We then started our walk back down the hill and towards the finish line. And we're really fortunate that a local French guy picked us up after we hitchhiked, or tried to hitchhike a little bit. And although you only see them flying past for seconds at a time, the build-up and the excitement is just amazing. A surprise lack of public transport on Bastille Day meant that we had to walk a little bit to get our train back north to Paris.
We had to leave a bit early to get our train. Turns out, il n'y a pas de taxi pour le 14 juillet. We got the merch.
It's Bastille Day.
We got no taxis here. No Uber. We had a lovely retired farmer give us a lift. We hitched with her for about 10k, otherwise we would not caught our train. And now we're walking for about an hour, which we will catch our train.
Beaucoup de train.
Un train. No, il n'y a pas de beaucoup de train. Merci, au revoir for now.
Okay, see you later.
Okay.
But there's always someone else to hitchhike from. Result. We got to see a little bit more of the caravan in all its absurdity and get a few more freebies for the trip home. Again, we got the TGV north and then hired some line bikes to cycle up from Gare de Lyon to Gare du Nord for the Eurostar home and back to the UK. The Eurostar's often pretty smooth. I enjoy arriving back in St Pancras with the Tracy Emin art, but also being back in London in general. I had a couple of nights at Ant's place before heading back north to Durham. What a trip.
Okay, so I've basically just uploaded a video of my holiday snaps from the last couple of weeks. But really, I wanted to talk through how easy and fun it is to travel long distances without using a plane. The trains down to London, the Eurostar to Paris, and then the TGV from Paris to Chambéry or Lyon are easy and they're quick and they're almost always reliable despite the strikes this year. With some planning, travelling long distance by train is really fun and really easy.
And it probably meant that we've had an absolutely cracking holiday in an extraordinary place, and our travel was probably about 0.5 ton of CO2 less. It does take some thinking about, but it actually probably wouldn't be that easy to travel to the Alps in the summer by plane either. It maybe did cost a little extra, but it was probably a little bit more relaxing as we could sit and enjoy the scenery, use the Wi-Fi and read a book. So would you ever think about a train trip to Europe like this? Have you ever done any big trips on the train? How far do you think you could get? If we're serious about climate change, a little bit of inconvenience to reduce our impact is surely a step we could all take.